Welcome back, guys. So today I want to talk about how anxiety can start to take over every aspect of your life. Basically take control of your everyday life, the things that you used to love to do, your ability to go to work, your sleep life, your social life, every aspect, guys. The way that your body feels, it completely transformed the way that I lived, and it was a horrific experience. And it was an experience that lasted a long time. Total, we're talking about 5 years. The first 4 years were really, really, really bad before I started to do the things that I talked to you guys about in these videos, or through my coaching, or through my Elite Anxiety Bootcamp. Once I started to put those steps, into action, things started to get a lot better. The problem was I didn't understand how this anxiety thing worked. I had a big problem with acceptance. It seemed like after I got out of one anxiety symptom cycle, I would enter another one, and I just made a lot of the same mistakes. These videos have value. My tip and recovery videos have value. Your therapy has value. Books has value. Courses have value. Coaching has value. You still have to take responsibility and take those things and be consistent with them, and to be patient with them, and give your subconscious some time to connect with them, okay? But for me, when it started with my first panic attack, it was strictly about like, oh my God, I think I'm having a heart attack. But then soon right after, I added on driving anxiety to my plate of food. So by the time I was like 2.5 years into this, I'm walking around with a little plate loaded up like this high of like food, right? I just got back from the anxiety buffet. My triggers had spread everywhere. It was consuming me. And I'm telling you guys, if I was able to climb out of that freaking deep hole, right? Or if I was able to reach up here at the top of my plate and start taking little things off and setting them down until it was more manageable, and eventually my plate was clean, you can do it too. It's going to suck at times. You have to accept that. It is going to be hard. It's going to be difficult. You're going to have to do things while you experience symptoms to show your subconscious that you are not afraid to do these things, and to show your subconscious that these things are not dangerous. But I'm telling you guys, this thing spreads very, very fast. I don't make this video to scare you. First of all, I'm telling the truth. I'm trying to relate with you. I want you guys to take this video and use it as motivation to get started today. Some of you have been waiting to do the things that you already know you need to do. So everything for me got kicked off about my first 6-hour-long panic attack. Thought I was dying, had all these symptoms. I was bombarded with them. Very quickly, it spread to me being symptom focused. That first day, I gained the superpower of being hypersensitive and hyper-focused on what was going on in my body, because I did have a panic attack. I started to listen for those symptoms. I started to focus on those symptoms. So even after my panic attack was gone, god-awful experience, thought I was dying, thought I was having a heart attack, I was still listening to my body, like, is that gonna happen again? Or am I gonna feel those same sensations? And I kept the symptoms there, okay? I kept them there. And I had such a strong mind-body connection that I could anticipate symptoms and they would pop up in certain areas of my body. It was that crazy, that automatic. I could read an article about MS and have all the symptoms of MS, basically a few minutes after I read that article. I could hear about somebody dying of colon cancer, and then my stomach would start to hurt. And I'm telling you, apply this with any disease, anything that you see or read or hear. I developed that, unfortunately. Very, very shortly after that, I was checking my heart rate all the time and trying to check my blood pressure all the time. I was Googling nonstop, so I added that to my life. So that took time, and that distracted me from my normal life. Something that happened after that, I had a panic attack in the car. So guess what happens then? I'm not wanting to drive anywhere. Screw traveling. That's definitely out of the question. It's hard enough for me to get to work. It's hard enough for me to stay in the car more than like 5 minutes. It seemed like I could do well with about 5 minutes. And then after that, my chest would just tighten up so much, my heart rate would take off, and then have a full-blown panic attack in the car. So driving anxiety was something that was horrible. That's a big one, and a lot of you can relate, because that has a lot of other things that it affects. Going to work, going to visit people, grocery shopping, running errands. And unfortunately, when we have a panic attack or we have a rough time those first few times in the car, we respond in fear, and we basically make a little edit, a program edit in our computer, of the subconscious computer, and it's going to do everything in its power to keep us out of that car, because it believes that that's a threat, that that's a dangerous situation. So it's going to do everything, and it'll go as far as like You have something coming up in a week and you're anxious about it. You're not even in the car yet, but you're thinking about that. It's just the subconscious is trying to protect you. This whole anxiety thing is a defense mechanism. It's trying to keep you out of danger. You have to realize that. So we have to change the way that we respond and get our subconscious to realize that this isn't a dangerous situation. That should be our goal at the end of the day. But that takes time, and you have to be patient, and you have to be consistent, and you have to realize whenever you get back in the car that first time after avoiding it for a while because you're terrified of it, it's still gonna suck. And you have to be okay with that, and then you have to plan your exposure accordingly. Maybe you just want to be aggressive and say, like, just bring it on, give me everything. Or maybe you want to take tiny steps to get, there's different methods for different people, okay? But you have to realize and accept that that's going to be hard. If you haven't been to work in a long time, because that's what I was going to say. The driving thing, right? It spread to work. It was hard for me to hold down a job, and I had good jobs, and working was never a problem before. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed working, but it was hard enough for me to just get there because of the driving. So it affected the work situation. So every time that I would quit a job, I'd be like, oh God, thank God my anxiety would come down just a little bit. I'd get back in my comfort zone, just like if you stop driving and you have somebody that can bring you your groceries or do things for you or take you somewhere if you need to be taken somewhere, like, oh, thank God, at least I'm not having to deal with that, right? But that's not a place you want to be in, right? Because then whenever you do go back to work because you realize you have to, or whenever somebody's like, I can't keep bringing you places or doing these things for you, got to do it, it's going to suck those first few times. That's going to be the challenge. That's what we're so afraid of, those first few times of getting back into it and working on our exposure. But that's another aspect. It took control of my work life. I was having panic attacks at work. I couldn't help customers. I dealt with a lot of customer service at that time in my life. It was so hard for me to talk to people when I'm panicking and feel like I'm dying inside. Then it impacted my social life. Because of the driving, I didn't want to drive 30 minutes over here to go hang out or do this. I didn't want to be around a lot of people. I didn't have fun doing these things. I used to love going to play golf, but now I'm having to leave, after hole 3, and I'm pissing everybody off because we got to go because I was with them. I didn't even drive there, but I'm telling them I'm dying. Going to a restaurant seemed horrible, and I would have digestive symptoms. So it's like, my stomach would hurt whenever I'm eating and all that stuff. I didn't have an appetite half the time, So those things, it was just easier, I felt like, to avoid those situations. It is always going to be easier, guys, to avoid these things. Whenever anxiety spreads to a certain part of your life, we want to just avoid it. But I was making a mistake, and instead of it going from driving to this, guys, like I said, I was adding on things. Bam, panic disorder. That's a big, juicy anxiety, medium steak, right? And then I add on mashed potatoes with the symptom checking and the hypersensitivity, right? I add on some greens, with the Googling and the research. And we just keep on adding on things and stacking things, with the driving and then our work life and then our social life. And then sleep, guys. Sleep was one that happened very quickly as well. And then whenever you don't get a lot of sleep, the next morning is hellacious and you feel anxious, right? My drinking got worse and worse and worse and basically out of control at that time. I was trying to numb my symptoms any way that I could, so I was drinking a lot, and it would actually make my symptoms go away in the evening. But then it was 10 times worse the next day because I was dehydrated and I would have anxiety, right? Have anxiety, and a lot of you have dealt with that because we are desperate to find anything and everything to help us, right? So it spread to that. Guys, it spread to everything. Smells, noises. I became very jumpy. Irritability. That was another thing that got added to my plate. Guys, I can go on and on and on and on and on, but any area of your life, it can spread to. And in your body, your anxiety can spread to all over, to where you can name 100 things that you felt in the past few days. You could write it all down literally and be like, there's 100 things that I have felt in the last few days. This, twitching, vision changes, chest pains, muscle tension, ear ringing, headaches, tightness, shooting pain. You can go on and on and on with all the things that you've experienced. And guys, I just want you to know that you're not alone with this, but it can spread very, very quickly. And I don't want you to necessarily be afraid. I just want you to be urgent. Be urgent. The fastest way to get things rolling is to first develop a routine. It's not most of the process, But that's the fastest way to take off about 20-25% of this, right? You need that morning routine. You need that structure. You need a little bit of exercise. You need to be eating healthier. You need to be having some mindfulness. You need to be doing some visualization. You need to get a notebook and start journaling. You need to get up quick and stop laying in bed. All that easier said than done whenever you didn't get a ton of sleep? Yeah. All that easier said than done whenever you wake up with symptoms right after you open your eyes? Yes. But what other choice do we have, you know? I mean, we do have the choice of staying in bed or not doing that, right? And staying in our comfort zone where we're still ironically miserable. Or we can start today and push it because we don't want to add another thing to our plate. So you get your foot in the door with change by having structure and routine in the morning. I'm not going to sit here and spend 10 minutes on a routine. Look up Trey Jones Anxiety Morning Routine. There's a very detailed routine in my course, Elite Anxiety Bootcamp, which that's my anxiety recovery course. It's been helping a lot of people. I've been reading reviews. I'll put that down below in the description and the first pin comment. And if you haven't been able to get that, I'll give you all a code today. Anxiety Recovery, it'll take $20 off an already affordable course. So another $20 off. Anxiety Recovery, use that code. That'll help you out. But have that routine, have that structure. But guys, the biggest part, after we develop that, you can put a structure and a routine together within a week. After that, stop waiting. Stop waiting. You need to be urgent. Stop letting it spread to new areas of your life. And you can stop the spreading by working on the things that you got to work on now, whether that be driving or plan to get back to work or an exercise, routine, because maybe what you're afraid of is exercise because you deal with heart anxiety. Be afraid of it spreading. Okay, that's fine, but use that fear to make you more urgent to fight it, if that makes sense. Fear is not necessarily, the thing that you need to be focused on right now. I want you to focus on being brave. You can still be afraid and be brave, okay? I understand it's scary to get back in the car. That's the problem. A lot of people feel like they have to make the fear go away before they go get in a car, or at least most of it, so they can just bear through it. No, it's still gonna be rough that first time, all right? But you're gonna be a warrior. You're a warrior, okay? So be urgent. Understand that it's okay to be afraid. The fear is going to go down. The confidence is going to go up as you keep going through this process, right? Bravery is key. Being courageous. And whenever we're in these situations, I don't want you just trying to force yourself to do it while still sitting in the car and begging for your symptoms to change. Some of you have tried exposure and you're just trying to kick yourself in the butt every single day, getting into the vehicle or maybe going to work or just trying to force yourself to do exercise. Are you technically desensitizing from that? Yes. You at the end of the day are realizing I'm not dying every time I try to exercise, or I'm not dying in the vehicle. You can at least say that, right? But if you want to take it to the next level with your exposure, practice your response. There's tons of different ways to respond to symptoms. I've talked about them all throughout the history of this channel. You can give a softer approach, give safety, context, calming responses to your subconscious. For some of you, you're going to be more aggressive, and I had a mixture of many different types of responses, as I encourage you to do. I want you to mix it up. Sometimes you may want to be more nurturing to your subconscious. Sometimes you might want to show a little bit more tough love. I mean, I would take it to the level of actually asking my symptoms to intensify in these situations to show my subconscious that consciously I'm not running from this situation. Put it all on my back. I'll take care of it, but I'm not running away. I'm not getting out of the car. I'm not stopping. I'm not going home. I'm not clocking out early, right? I'm not stopping this set on my exercise type or whatever. I'm not. I'm going to show you that I can get through it. Are you making me feel very uncomfortable right now? Yeah. Do I have some fear because of how uncomfortable you're making me feel? Yeah. But I'm going to be brave. I'm going to be brave, and I'm going to stick up for you, subconscious, when anxiety's trying to pick on us, right? I'm going to stick up for you. I'm going to look out for you. So have that approach, have the routine in place, a willingness to be brave and put yourself in these difficult situations to desensitize and to work on to take exposure to the next level instead of just trying to just be consistent and battle through it and tough it out. Work on your response while you're in these situations. Develop that trust with your subconscious, okay? Guys, again, check out my course, Elite Anxiety Bootcamp, down below. If you want extra help with your recovery process, I gave you a code earlier, Anxiety Recovery. It'll save you $20 today on an already affordable course. I've been reading you guys' reviews. There's more reviews on the page. There's more reviews on my Instagram. And all that information is down below in the first pin comment and in my description, okay? There's other resources down there. If you've never tried therapy, there's a link for online therapy. You can do that. And all my socials are down there. But guys, I love you all. And until next time, keep fighting.